John Lipsky, thank you very much for coming to WPC TV. You are a rather distinguished economist, previously with Salomon Brothers. I think you're at the IMF, JP Morgan,
International Monetary
Fund,
and now the School for Advanced International Studies.
Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. Tell me, we're in Europe. Is the Euro crisis genuinely over?
Oh, that's a matter of definition. Is the European economy performing as well as we would want, as the Europeans would want, and as it should? No. Should it be called a crisis? Well, that's a definitional issue. There are some big challenges ahead, both in terms of institutionalization, in terms of healing the financial sector, in terms of reducing unemployment and spurring renewed growth.
And if you were a political leader in Europe, which of those problems, how would you start? I mean, we're in France where the unemployment rate...
You can't do this in sequence. They have to be done all at once. But certainly, part that is extremely important in restarting growth in Europe is cleansing the financial sector, healing the financial sector, and in Europe, that means the banking sector particularly.
You're talking about the private sector banking.
Well, it's a mixed, in Europe, it's a mixed system. Some places they're privately owned, some places they are publicly owned, and some places some of both.
But all are part of a Eurozone here, all playing a part, and one could argue that the Eurozone has fundamental flaws in it because of the economic imbalances, the divergencies between economies such as Germany and at the other extreme, Greece, Portugal.
But those weren't caused, in a sense, by the European, by currency union.
At all,
No, by currency union. That, of course, was one of the issues at the outset that was recognized, that the Eurozone didn't constitute what economists call an optimal currency area. But of course, the whole point, or one of the key points of the single currency, was to force the structural reforms that would make it into an optimal currency area. And that is what did not happen and has to happen now. Yes, of course.
But surely there will be a huge social cost, because what you're talking about really is internal devaluation.
It was envisioned certainly as a win-win proposition. After all, if you remember at the outset, it was wildly, the conventional wisdom, and let me put it more directly, the consensus view at the outset of the signing of the Maastricht Treaty was that the countries such as Spain and Italy were going to be the big winners of monetary union, and Germany would be the big loser.
And initially that was true.
And initially that seemed to be the case. But today it's taken as a conventional wisdom that the opposite is true. So it's worth contemplating what converted Germany from the consensus loser to the winner, and the southern economies, especially Spain and Italy, from the big winners to the losers.
Well, does it go back to subprime mortgages in the United States?
It goes back to, among other things, the comprehensive failure of financial market discipline to work, and also to the Growth and Stability Pact, among other things, to fail to do the job.
A final question. One of the sessions this morning was really harped on about inequality.
Yes.
Do you think inequalities within, well, I was thinking in particular of Europe, but let's go elsewhere if you like, are actually reaching an unsustainable point, socially unsustainable?
I don't know. It's an issue that bothers, I think, everyone who's thoughtful. At the same time, it's perplexing to an analyst or an economist, because it's not clearly predicted by theory. It's not immediately obvious why it is happening, and naturally you feel reticent about prescribing cures for diseases the cause of which you are not certain about. Yet this is an issue that requires attention and thought. This was not expected to be an outcome. It's not just the Eurozone, it's not just the advanced economies, and this, let's not lose the big picture. This is in a period in which the decline of poverty globally has been beyond anything in history.
Yes.
That has been a huge success. There's more to do, but poverty reduction on the one hand seems to have come along with a sense of increasing inequality.
Just one word from you on this conference. What do you find most useful or most intriguing in this conference?
Oh, for me personally, it has a very European point of view. It's a very sophisticated and global point of view, but it seems to have its own optic on the world that's very useful. Because if you tend to go to conferences with the same folks, you tend to hear the same views said repeatedly, and this isn't the case here. Before we end, I fear I'm going to be left sounding very pessimistic about Europe, but I'm not at all. It seems to me that there are real things that need to be done, that can be done, and when they're done, will help to make the goal of a more united Europe a reality.
Well, on that optimistic note, John Lipsky, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.